revisions, and that is SIR, Special Intensive Revisions. So we will look into SIR. So these are the pointers. We'll be looking the SIR from this perspective. That is, we'll be talking about what is SIR, what is the objectives, and then we'll look into the issues and problems related with the current SIR, and also we'll look into what Supreme Court has to say about on the current issues or problem related to SIRs. So let's start with what is SIR, Special Intensive Revision. So basically it is a process by the Election Commission of India where the electoral roll is being revised, where the electoral roll. So what is SIR? It is the process through which the electoral rolls is being revised. So obviously in a democratic country, where election is a regular requirement, and so is the revision of electoral rolls. It is very, very important that frequently or intermittently the electoral rolls should be revised, so that if there is any kind of duplication, if there is any kind of duplications, errors can be rectified. This can be rectified. So that is the reason why intermittent revision of electoral roll is important, and this is SIR happens generally before the Lok Sabha election or Legislative Assembly election. Right? So what is SIR? It is basically a process of revising the electoral rolls before the important general elections, right? And it is done by whom? By the ECI, Election Commission of India. Why it is done? So that any kind of duplications or error in the electoral roll must be done away with. So that is SIR. Why SIR? So again we have talked about why SIR, to maintain the integrity and authenticity of the electoral roll. To maintain the integrity and authenticity. Maintain the integrity of the electoral rolls. So what are electoral rolls? Electoral rolls are nothing but where the name of all the eligible voters, name of all the eligible voters are being enumerated, right? So this is about the electoral roll and its a special intensive revision. But then this is not the issues and problem. The problem is related with the current SIR. What are the problem related with the current SIR? Why it is in news almost every day? It has been in news. What is, then we'll look into the constitutional provisions. Before looking into the significance, we'll look into the what is the constitutional provisions related to SIR, special intensive revision, or upgradation of electoral roll. So here we will look into the constitutional provision and the statutory provision. So constitutional provision, Article 324 and 326, and statutory provisions, that is RPA, Representation of People Act 1950, right? So Article 324, I think all of you know, it's very simple. That is, it is the duty of the Election Commission of India that the election should be conducted in a free and fair manner. The election should be conducted in a free and fair manner, and for that the Election Commission of India is duty bound under Article 324 the superintendent, direction and control of elections lies in the hand of Election Commission of India, including the preparation or revision of electoral rolls, right? So that's related with constitutional provision, Article 324. Now what is Article 326? Article 326 is universal adult suffrage, universal adult suffrage or universal adult franchise, where every citizen of India who has turned 18 years of age and is not barred by law, has right to vote, So these are the constitutional provision which is related with the topic, that is special intensive revision or upgradation of electoral roll, Article 324 and Article 326. Then what are the statutory provisions? Statutory provision is basically under the Representation of People Act 1950. So it could be very, very important for your prelims, as well as it could be very important for your mains. They can ask, since you know RPA, Representation of People Act 1950-51, both has been mentioned in your main syllabus, and the question has been coming even this year. The question has come on Representation of People Act. So there could be a potential question on Representation of People Act, the recent issues. So this could be one recent issue. So under Representation of People Act, here we will be basically looking into three provisions. Section 16, three provisions, Section 16, Section 21 and Section 23. There are three provisions related to Representation of People Act 1950, particularly related with the upgradation of electoral rolls. So Article 16 that deals with the Section 16 that deals with the disqualification of the voters. On what ground the voters are being disqualified to be under the electoral rolls? What are the grounds of disqualifications? In what cases their name could be striked away from the electoral rolls, right? That is Section 16. Then you have Section 20. Section 21 that deals with the revision. Section 21 that deals with the revision of electoral roll. Section 21 that deals with the revision of the electoral roll. So you can say the current SIR, that is special intensive revision, it is based on Section 21 of the RPA 1950, right? That is revision of the electoral roll, Section 21 of the RPA 1950. Then Section 23. Section 23 deals with that, yes, this will be the inclusion of the name of the voters. Inclusion of the name of the voters. Section 23 of the RPA 1950. Section 23 of the inclusion of Section 23 that deals with the inclusion of new names or new voters who are eligible, that is their inclusion. So we have Section 16 that deals with the disqualifications of the voters, on what ground they will be disqualified, and on that basis their name can be struck away from the electoral rolls. Section 21 that deals with the revisions of the electoral rolls, that is what, on that basis the SIR is being conducted in Bihar. And then Section 23 that is inclusion of the name of the voters in electoral roll, right? So these are the constitutional provisions and statutory provisions under what? Special intensive revision. So we are seeing the special intensive revision in relation with the constitutional provision. What is the constitutional requirement related to SIR? So we have seen the constitutional provision 324, 326, and then Representation of People Act 1950, that is the statutory provision, and in that we have talked about the 3 section. I hope till here you got some clarity regarding the SIR and the constitutional provision. So let's look into what is the problem with the current SIR. So current SIR, as all of you might be knowing, that is, it is being conducted in Bihar, and in Bihar, November 2025, the election is going to be held, and so before that there has been an special intensive revision upgradation of the electoral roll, which has started from 25th June 2025, and the period is till 30th September. Yeah, so you can see the schedule. The schedule is 25th June. They have started the distributions of enumerations form. So enumeration form is basically where the required information is required for the upgradation of electoral roll. Around 8 crores of people. What is the intensity of the exercise of the upgradations? We can understand from that 8 crore people of Bihar who has to be in the electoral roll. That upgradations relates with the 8 crore people. So obviously it's a very gigantic task, it's a very mammoth exercise, and within a very short period of time. That is what the major problem. So such intensive revision within such short period of time, that is what it is more and more challenging. And of course there are certain issues also. Why it is more challenging, we'll talk about certain issues. Because of that, this current SIR is more challenging than the previous year. In 2003, the last SIR was done in Bihar. So almost 20 years back, 22 years, right? 22 years back the SIR was done, and it was done in 31 days. So considering that almost this time it is 3 months. So 3 months is a good time, and that too with the technology and all, but then there are certain issues this time, because the last time SIR was done, there was not such much issues, but this time there has been more intensive revision. There has been issues and problems of exclusion coming up, and that's what this SIR has been in news so much than the last SIR. So you can see this was the period where this is the schedule for the SIR, that's from 25th June till 30th September, and after that, and you know, November 2025 the election is due in Bihar, so obviously it has to be done before that. And then there is a period of appeal also, 15 days to the district magistrate and 30 days to the chief electoral officers. So after the final result, if there is any issues of exclusion of or any problem, there is a system of appeal as well. So on and all, everything has to be completed before the due date of election, isn't it? So what is the problem? The problem is that the time is very less related with the spatial intensive revision. The kind of electoral updation is being taking place, and that too more because of certain issues has cropped up. We'll talk about what are the issues. Yes. Yeah, so difference between last SIR and the present one, because that is what the major controversy is. So last SIR, the enumerators were sent for house to house. house to house verification with the copy of details containing the existing voters. Already they were, having the existing voters name, and house to house survey was done, and they already had the name and the list. They just has to verify that yes, this person is still there. If they were not there because of the death, particularly because of the death, that's, and if there are new people, any new people who have attained the age of 18 and they are eligible to be become the voters, their name will be inducted, right? Their name will be added in the electoral roll, and those who have died, their name will be deleted, or those who have become ineligible for vote, those name will be deleted. So that is what the simple exercise. Now the present SIR, every existing elector will have to submit an enumeration form to the booth label officer, BLO, for the elector registered in the electoral roll as of January 2003. January 2003 was the last SIR in Bihar. No further documents are required to be submitted except extract of the electoral rolls of 2003. So here, the electors has been divided. The one who were registered 2003 and the one who were registered after 2003. So that is what the problematic, particularly problematic, those who are registered after 2003. So they have to additionally submit document for establishing date and place of birth for themselves and the parents. So this is one of the major problem. So basically we'll have to talk about here two major problems. Two major problems are there in the current SIR. One that is related to that those voters who are registered after 2003, means after the special intensive revisions. They have to provide the details of place of birth not only for themselves but also for their parents. So that is where the issues come, because in India, particularly the marginalized group, or the rural poor, they may do not have a adequate document. Another problem is that they have the 11 list of acceptable proof, 11 list of documents which are taken as proof, acceptable proof, and in that Aadhaar, there is Aadhaar card or voter ID or ration card, which is generally most of the people, they have the Aadhaar card, ration card or the voter ID. They are not accepted as a proof for the age and also for the place of birth. Aadhaar is not considered for the age, place of birth. That is what the problem, because many people, they have the Aadhaar card, but then Aadhaar card is not acceptable for the proof of identity in relation to the SIR. Another problem which is about the ordinary residents, which has been defined under the RPA 1950, ordinary residents. So those people, particularly the migrants people who are not residing ordinarily in the place of their birth or the place where they are registered as electoral, they may face disenfranchisement. Their name might get striked out from the electoral rolls because they are not considered to be ordinarily resident as per the current SIR. So these are the major issue. One, non-acceptable of Aadhaar as an identity proof, or voter card or ration card, which is generally the people have. And other problem is related to ordinarily resident. So if you have to be there in the electoral roll, you must be ordinarily resident. So those people who are migrants or those students who go for educations, they may face disenfranchisement, which was not there in the earlier SIR, but this time they had brought this kind of issue. So majorly two problems, issues of ordinary residents, and for that who would be impacted? The migrants. The migrants will be impacted. They may face exclusion from the electoral rolls. And another set of problems, particularly to the marginalized community or the rural people who may not have the list of identity which has been mentioned. We'll show you what are those 11 list of identity. And Aadhaar is not considered in that, ration card is not considered in that, voter ID is not considered. So that is what the problem is. So I hope you got the problem. Main problem is what? Establishing the date and place of birth for themselves and their parents, place of birth, which is and with this also relates the ordinarily residents. So those who are migrants, they may face the trouble. So these are the list of documents. You can see passport, birth certificate, matriculation or educational certificates, permanent residents. So these are the list of 11 certificate which will be considered as a proof of identity. Proof of identity. Aadhaar will not consider. But Supreme Court on August 8th judgment, August 8, 2025, Supreme Court in August 8, 2025 order to the ECI has said that Aadhaar should be considered as an accepted document, 12th document for identity proof. Because now Aadhaar is considered to be an one and all identity proof. We cannot have a multiple kind of identity proof, and Aadhaar has become an omnibus identity proof, particularly for the poor and marginalized who may not have all these identity proof. They may not have matriculation, they may not have passport, birth certificate, particularly in India where you have the home delivery kind of things, and particularly for the poor and marginalized, they may not have birth certificate, they may not have passport, they may not have educational certificates, right? Forest rights certificates or caste certificates. But what the people currently they have, which is more prevalent, Aadhaar. Most of the people, they have Aadhaar. Why? Because through Aadhaar, particularly the rural and marginalized community, they get the benefit of the government. They get benefit from the government. So they have the Aadhaar card, right? They may not have these other documents. So that is what the major problem here. And Supreme Court in its directive has directed to consider Aadhaar as the identity proof. Now what is the issue? Why Aadhaar is not considered? Why Aadhaar is not considered as an identity proof, or particularly for the citizenship? Because it is said that it is just an unique identity, but it does not have, but it does not prove one's age, citizenship or residence. Aadhaar is not a proof, it is not a clear-cut proof of age, citizenship or residence. For this, Aadhaar card will not be considered as per the Election Commission of India. These 11 documents will be considered as a valid document for age, citizenship and residence rather than Aadhaar. So that is what the problem is. But as we have already discussed, the poor people, the marginalized people, they don't have these 11 certificate which has been mentioned, or 11 list of documents they might not have. Aadhaar is the one which is most of the people they have. So in that case, Supreme Court is of the opinion that it is very important to exclude the non-citizens from the electoral roll to maintain the integrity of the electoral roll. But it is also very important that no eligible voter should be excluded. No eligible voter should be excluded because of they are not able to provide any of these certificate, 11 certificate, and if they have Aadhaar should be considered as a proof of identity. I hope we are getting the clarity here. Whole issues of the SIR, why the current SIR in so much of controversy and problem, because of these issues. One related with the Aadhaar, which is not being considered, ration card or voter ID, which is not been considered as a proof of identity by the ECI in the current SIR. And second problem is particularly related with the ordinary resident, which we have talked, ordinary resident. So those people who are migrants, they might face the problem of exclusion because they have been migrating to other places, right? So they may not be the ordinary resident at the place of their birth or at the place where they are being registered as elector, because they migrate to several places for in terms of job, education and so, and particularly in Bihar, where there are the majority, in fact, the maximum migrations come from UP and Bihar, internal migrations. So that's why the issue is more serious and more sensitive. So this is what the issues of SIR in nutshell we have already discussed. Commonly held documents are not acceptable, that is Aadhaar card, voter ID or ration card, which is not being Aadhaar, voter ID, ration card, these are not being accepted as a proof of identity for the verifications of for the revision of electoral roll or for the verification in the electoral roll. So that is what the problem, commonly held documents are not acceptable. Then problem of disenfranchisement, particularly for the rural poor, marginalized community like scheduled tribes, scheduled castes, illiterates, and also migrants. So marginalized community, rural poor and migrants, there is a fear of getting disenfranchisement because of the various reasons we just discussed. Tight timelines, we have already seen the schedule is very, very tight. Just 3 months, almost just 3 months, which is considered to be very less period, considering the kind of exercise, the kind of, with the intensity of the revision of electoral rolls is taking place this time, and new things has come up, new issues has come up, considering that the time limit is very less and the issues of error, potential error might happen. Potential errors and false deletion may happen because of the issues we just discussed. And who will get most impacted? Disproportionately, it will impact the marginalized community, the migrants and rural people. So with this, I hope you got the clarity that what are the issues, what is SIR, Yes, so we have discussed all the points. What is SIR? So it is basically a process by which the Election Commission of India revised the electoral rolls, which is very important to maintain the integrity of the electoral roll, hence the integrity of the election itself. Under Article 324, the Election Commission of India has been given the duty to conduct a free and fair election, and under that the SIR is taking place. Why SIR? Because of the issues of death, migrations or urbanizations or demographic changes, things might change, and that must be reflected in the electoral roll. Any kind of duplications or any kind of error must be rectified, and that can happen time to time when the electoral rolls is being revised, right? Significance, we have seen constitutional provision, Article 324, 326, and then the statutory provisions also we have seen. Problems with the current SIR, the issues of disenfranchisement and exclusion, particularly for the poor and marginalized community. And then what is the Supreme Court? And on SIR, Supreme Court has said that Aadhaar, particularly the issue was related with issue was related with the proof of identity, the documents which has been mentioned, which many people they may not have, and that's why and Aadhaar was excluded from the acceptable form of proof of identity, which the Supreme Court has given the directives that Aadhaar card must be considered as a proof of identity. And further, as per the Supreme Court, it is very, very important that electoral revision is very important to maintain the integrity of the election, and we have to see that non-citizens are deleted. They are deleted from the electoral rolls, or any kind of errors or duplication must be deleted, must be erased. At the same time, it is very, very important that no eligible voter should be excluded from this democratic process just because they do not have a valid ID or they are not able to provide the valid identity proof because of the various reason, and that's why it's very important that the Election Commission of India must try to balance accuracy. ECI must try to balance between accuracy and inclusion. The electoral roll must be accurately done. At the same time, it is very important that inclusion of the valid voter must be there. It should not be in any case done away with, or no eligible voter should be disenfranchised. So I hope with this you got a good clarity on what is SIR and what are the issues related with SIR and what should be done. So with this, we'll end the session and we'll keep on coming up with the new topic, and we'll try to discuss and simplify new topics which are hot or which are more in news. Thank you. All the very best.